Welcome to the skating session. My name is Tony Wheeler.
And I'm Thomas Vu, and you are joining us right now for an emergency podcast on the rhythm dance for Finlandia Trophy 2025. Because if you're like us, the calling in the rhythm dance was a bit bizarre. I don't know about you, but yeah, I think it started out really early here when we saw what happened with Fournier, Baudry, and Cizeron, and their first element was a choreographic rhythm step, which was a big surprise, I'm sure, to all of us since they end with a choreographic rhythm step.
Yeah.
So, what was you thinking when you saw this?
Well, it's the same technical controller that we saw last week, Shawn Rettstatt. He is the head of the Ice Dance Technical Committee, and he is basically the brains or the no brains behind these rhythm dance kind of themes that we've seen the last few years. And what I've heard is that maybe he's feeling the heat from these rhythm dances not hitting as well as he thought they would. So now he's being overly careful in the way that he's scoring. I don't know if there's any basis on that, but that seems to be what's kind of going around behind the scenes as a thought process, especially at Skate America, because we saw the same thing kind of trail through this week. You see on the pattern step, you see on the midline, all these level ones, all these base levels, Twizzle's not getting full credit, even when to the naked eye, it kind of looks like they're okay. Choreographic sequences getting these exclamation marks, just a lot of stuff that is so overly meticulous. I have a lot of opinions about it because as people that are so meticulous about reading the rules, we like that, right? But the thing
Right.
is, unless you're going to put him on every panel between now and the Olympics, it's kind of like, what's the point? Because the next competition, I don't think people are going to follow through to these levels. I can tell you this is like a half hour after the competition ended, and we already see Piper Gillis is pissed. We saw that Roman was kind of just like ridiculous, like he was rolling his eyes in the kiss and cry.
Yep.
I would say that the skaters needed to file, well, two things. I think they needed to file a kind of inquiry about what's going on, and I also think Rettstatt should have to maybe put out a communication or some kind of something that's saying this is why you're not getting these levels. This is the exact reason why we're not counting these turns within the midline or the pattern step because it's very consistent. And one thing I can say, not to trash them, but you know something's a little bit off when you have the Finnish team that is just by default just very much weaker skaters foundationally. They're scoring the highest pattern step level in the competition. Well, among the highest at level two. So there's just a lot of questions that I have there. Like I said, I'm good with the judging being consistent, even if it is overly meticulous, but we're gonna get into Guillaume and Laurence, and I cannot see how this happened. So
I
take it
can't
away and
either.
explain the element and what happened,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. So we're gonna explain it really quick, and then we're gonna show it. So the choreographic rhythm sequence, it gets called as their first element. So Fournier, Baudry, they start with this Vogue posing, and they're kind of apart. They move back slightly and they move forward a little bit toward the judges and then they begin the program more or less, right? And there's a lot of just voguing going on. They're setting the mood, they're setting the tone. And I saw like choreographic rhythm step pop up on the element box and I'm just like, "Oh." Immediately I'm just like, "Did they really just consider that a choreographic rhythm
Yeah.
step?" And so I immediately was like, "Okay, let me refresh myself on the minimum requirement to be confirmed," right?
Mhm.
I'm going to read it.
Go ahead.
Both partners perform steps around the short axis and must proceed from barrier to barrier. And it's that last part, barrier to barrier, that I'm having a lot of problems with how this call was done. And just, I'll explain it. But essentially, you know it's starting because the teams are starting at a barrier. They're
Right.
within 2 meters of that barrier and they go. And when I look at this, they never start within 2 meters of that barrier opposite to the judging panel. They shift back a little bit, but I don't see 2 meters, right? And then there'll be another issue too, because then somehow this gets an exclamation. And then my question is, when did the panel or the technical panel deem this element to even have started? Did it
Yeah.
start when they were
In the
fully
beginning of the
back?
program,
Or
they
did it,
had
yeah,
to have.
start right at the beginning of the program when they were far apart? And it's just completely bizarre.
Yeah.
I think you have it queued up if you want to like
Yeah.
go and play it.
All right. So on the screen now we have the very start of the program, and we're just going to go through the entire opening choreography that ended up being called this choreographic sequence or character step. We see they're starting. Okay. Look how far apart they are too, because remember, they have to be within arm's length.
Two in, right? They have to be able to
Yeah.
basically hold hands.
Yeah.
All right, they get together. They move back a little bit, right? So
They're
Guillaume, that's the
nowhere near the
farthest they
boards.
go.
Yeah.
Nowhere near, not
Yeah.
within 2 meters. And then they're just more or less gliding forward, vibing a little bit, and then they end within 2 meters if that were considered an element. But
And one
like,
thing I have to say though, like on top of all of this ridiculous calling, he picked her up twice in the sequence and they did some hand movements. That is all that this
right,
comprised of. And
yeah.
they got this
And
call. They
so
got this call
pause
with the
here, right?
yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, go back to where they are, and we'll just look at that for a second.
This is as far as close as they are to the boards. They're not anywhere near the boards.
Right.
That's it. They don't go any
And then
further than the board.
like, yeah, they're not anywhere near the boards.
Yeah.
So there, right? Maybe Guillaume's the closest to the boards there. But once, let's just say that's where it starts. When Guillaume's like the closest to the boards, and that's where they deem it starts. I, right there,
But
right?
he's
Like he's right
not.
behind
He's
her, and
not.
he's
Yeah.
not. And at that point, if that's the point where this element starts, I would say they're within two arms lengths the whole time. So I don't see where that exclamation is, unless they're saying, hey, this started and
Didn't
he
go to the
wasn't
boards.
within
Yeah.
2 meters of
Yeah.
the boards. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
But even that, like watch from this point on. What do they do here? They skate forward. Okay, she's skating forward. They do some arm movements. He lifts her up once, he lifts her up twice. That is the entire sequence. So now they get the exclamation point, which means you need to drop the GOE by two. So you're
Right.
telling me these plus ones and plus twos or whatever they got on the element for doing nothing would have been plus threes and plus fours, which
I
tells
think
me
a
all
judge
I
gave
need to
plus three
know.
overall
It
still.
it tells me all I need to know about ice dance judging. They do not look at what's going on. If you're going to call that the sequence, that had nothing in it.
Right.
It didn't go to the boards. It had two simple hops or a little flip on that second one, and that is it. That whole thing lasted like five
Right.
seconds.
So many problems, right? So
Yeah.
there's so many problems of even when this element is deemed to have been confirmed,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And what actually defines now a choreographic rhythm sequence or
Yeah.
rhythm step. And then even that, even if it was misidentified, the judges should be judging what's in front of them.
Right.
And a judge, there's no way you give that a plus two or a plus three. There's no
No.
world, not even a
No.
plus one. The
The negative
zeros,
two that they
the
gave was the
negative
most
two is probably the most
realistic
accurate
score.
one. The negative two is
Exactly.
probably the most accurate score from the US judge,
So
which
what have we said forever? The thing is, this is what we're talking about. It is all vibes based. You do some arm movements. Oh, we're gonna give. It would be a plus five element if they would have gotten through it. There was nothing there. That's not the element. Like,
so like just so many problems. And this is to me now creates just a host of issues if something like this sticks or isn't
yep.
clarified, because now the only thing that truly defined when this element was confirmed is both partners perform steps around the short axis. So your any team is now in danger of having a choreographic rhythm sequence called if they perform choreography anywhere along the short axis.
But
Anywhere.
that's also what and this is what well, I alluded to what Robin Cousins said a few weeks ago, or I don't know when he said it. Pause. He said something to the extent of why are these elements called choreographic elements when the entire program should be choreography? And this is the perfect example of what he was talking about. If you do anything that's a little bit choreography based, they might call it an element in the wrong place and then you might get screwed on it anyways. It's to me it's really just it is like you said, it's opening itself up for so many
Right.
problems. And unless they send out a communication or Rettstatt as the head of all of this says, this is why I did this, this is what you need to not do, this is what needs to be changed. This is insane. I will tell you as a fact, I had a friend that was sitting in the stands right behind like to the side of where the technical panel was, but Ice Academy Montreal at Skate America was the team of coaches was standing right to the side of where the technical panel was.
Yeah.
And the friend saw Rettstatt do like a little review of all the elements for chalk and baits, and he handed it to, I think, Murray France. I'm not sure who he handed it to, but this was in practice. You cannot tell me Rettstatt was not watching this program in practice and either knew this was going to happen or one of them knew something. Why are they giving it to one team but not the other team? As far as I know, they didn't get anything based on the reactions. I mean, Guillaume is pissed. I will read what Piper said. Let's just read it right now. She in the mixed zone, she said, it's really unfortunate that top athletes in the world are getting level ones on their pattern step. We're all working really hard, but we are made to feel like junior skaters. I think there's room for the technical to grow. And then she says, we love this sport. I think where our system is at right now is a crossroad. And I think that viewership is also understanding that we're kind of in that situation. What have we been saying? Like, we've been saying that. I don't think that they're like in favor of anything that's happened as far as the rule changes in ice dance.
Right.
And then she says like they don't know what's happening when they see an exclamation point. What the heck does that even mean, you know? So there's just so many moments in our sport that have lost connection to who's watching and also the connection between who's controlling our fate. And I think that's where this needs to change. The judges should judge what they see, the beauty and artistry of the sport. I mean, they need to judge the technical elements too. It is a sport. You cannot just be
Right.
subjectively like, oh, it gave me all the feels. You would give Gubanova the gold medal and everything if it was just about feels,
Nah,
you know?
exaggeration, but okay.
But yes, so
Right.
there needs
And
to
it's
be a
like,
sport-based rules, but there needs to also be clarification. And if this, I believe the person that was sitting to the side of the panel, and if Redstat did do any kind of like mock whatever like details, then it should be applied to everyone fairly, and they should be told this is what's going to happen. Hey, you might want to brush up on this, rather than he like I got you. This is not. It's not right. And I'm sure Ice Academy Montreal has a ton of officials that are more than willing to explain to them what is right and wrong. And this is obviously like they're all getting hit with big surprises, and I don't understand.
yeah, and even to me, now this introduces a different problem for the free dance because the choreographic character step in the free dance can go along the long axis or go along like the diagonal, right? But there's tons of teams that just kind of do stuff along the long axis,
Yep.
right? To just buy time.
Yep.
And it's a little bit of choreography here and there. Is now that at risk too of being called a choreographic step every
Right.
time? So
Right.
now when you're just more or less
Doing any
skating,
choreography,
doing any
anything that's not
choreography,
element.
you're
Yeah.
right, and it's not an element, you're going to have this risk. This is absurd. Absolutely absurd.
Yeah. This is why
Uh,
choreographic elements need to go. The choreography needs to stay the choreography. You integrate it into everything. You don't say, this
right.
is your time to show us your choreography. And again, I'm just going to hammer in this point. They had nothing in that supposed choreographic sequence, and you had judges willing to give a +5 had it not gotten the exclamation point. That is all you need to know about the judging and the
Right.
ludicrousness of
This
all of
element
this.
needs to go. The
Yeah.
ridiculous GOE values
Yeah.
for this element need to
Yeah.
go. Like,
Yeah.
I can see maybe a case for like the other choreographic movements, but the choreographic step is just an absolutely no. It's
Yep.
completely vibes based. I like you based. You're from my country based. Like,
Here's a
it's
way
a
to give you massive GOE
yeah.
based. No one can say
Mhm.
anything about it because there's really no rules. So,
Right. And
yeah.
we'll talk about some of this other like
Hmm.
crazy judging later on in like the regular episode, but
Hmm.
like this just so many
This is like a
problems.
major issue. This is
Yeah.
when the athletes are all kind of uniformly like, what the hell is
Across
happening
camps, right?
across camps? This is not just. I'm understanding that everybody's getting judged harshly, and I'm understanding that they're not giving clean turns and clean edges. But you go to you go to like Warsaw Cup and you see that they're throwing out high scores there. There's no consistency, and there never is going to be. It's too much to ask. But if you're going to overdo it
Yeah.
this much, then you need to explain why.
And there's like one more we want to go over, right? There's
Yeah.
one more we want to go over, and that
Yeah.
to me is the base level Twizzle call for Piper. Because watching it live, I didn't see how it was base level. I literally had to like slow it down, go
Hmm.
by the frames, and be like, oh, I can see this call now.
Hmm.
But that also made me realize they weren't doing this for some other teams.
Well,
You
yeah,
saw
I
that
mean,
too, right? And we'll maybe
Kolesnik
go
got
down the
kind
road.
of the benefit of the doubt, I would say, because if you're going to
Yep.
call Piper on this, Kolesnik's walking away with a level 4, and then you give Piper a base level. So we're talking about the Twizzles.
Right. And so like as it goes through, I'm not, are you gonna play the slow-mo or the okay,
No,
the regular
we're going to play
first?
the
Okay.
regular one first and then the slow-mo.
Right.
So here's in real
So
time.
as they're going in here, they're entering, and immediately first set, they're going for a group A and B feature, right? The
Yeah,
hands, the elbows at shoulder height, and then the leg out at least 45 degrees for the B. And so
right
they're
there.
going for those two features. And you can keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then in the second set, they're going for another group A feature with the arms extended in front.
So that.
That, right.
Yep.
And then the third group C feature. And so you see there four different additional features that they're attempting. And so you're seeing that all, and that was the attempt.
Yeah.
And naked eye, I saw the checked in the turn in the second set, right? And then
Hmm.
the arm drop when that happens, and it's no
Hmm.
longer extended in front anymore. And so immediately I'm just like, oh, okay, so that's a loss of a feature, loss of a level, that's level two.
Hmm.
Right. Sorry, loss of the check turn loses one level, and then losing that one feature drops them another level and two. So the first initial call is level two, right? On the screen.
No, level one for her.
It was initially level one.
Level one.
Oh dear. Okay. So like, anyway, do you want to play the slow-mo just so we can see it a little
Yep.
more? Okay.
So slow motion is here.
And so like in the first one, I'm seeing here now her elbow is dropping below the shoulder, like in
Yeah,
just
you
that
can
little
see it
bit.
right there. You can see
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
right. And so she loses that group A feature. So she only has the group B. And then here, arms in front, and then check turn there.
Right
That's a
there.
loss of
Yeah.
a level. And then her arm drops.
Yep.
That's another loss of a group A feature for her.
Yep.
And then to me, I'm like, okay, so there should be a group C and there should be a group B. That's two features.
Hmm.
So she should have max level two.
Hmm.
I saw that. Oh no, there's balloons. I don't know how I did that.
It's okay.
Um, I saw that, she has to check turn. So that's a loss of a level. And that puts her at one.
Yeah, you can see her elbows already.
Yeah. But they call it base level. And this is the part to me that was really confused. And this is the part to me where it gets really nitpicky.
Hmm.
And it's in the
She's checked
third
right
set.
there. So
Yeah,
right there you can see, I mean, we've already slowed it down, but you can see
her arm
her
drop.
her leg goes out a little bit, her arm
Mhm.
drops, you can see it's checked.
Okay, it's the third set here. So there's yeah. So right, it looks fine.
Hmm.
Even in this little slow-mo. But if
Hmm.
you go a little bit, like I think this can go slightly slower, but
Right? I mean, there's a
yeah. So
little
after that
break.
first rotation, you can see it a little bit. So
Hmm.
it's such a slight pause after that first rotation. Right? So after
Yeah.
that first one, you see a little bit of a pause and then it
Hmm.
starts again. And you have to slow it down so much to really even see it. And that to me is like such a nitpick when that wasn't happening to other skaters.
Yeah.
It's so small. It's
Right.
so slight to me.
Yeah.
And okay, if you're going to be able to slow it down like that and watch it and call it, great. I just don't think that was done for every single skater and team here. I just want to go over then how she gets to base level with
Oh yeah.
losing that. And
Yeah.
so you're supposed to have four additional features, at least
Hmm.
for three different groups. She loses both group A features. And so, naked eye, why is a peace sign balloons? She has a group B and a group C, right? But when she loses that group B feature, or sorry, that group C feature, because that checked turn on the third set, she now only has one additional feature, which means the max starting level for this Twizzle is level one. And then when you subtract the level for that checked turn, it's now base level.
Yeah.
But that's the level of
So
nitty gritty they
yes,
went
exactly.
through on
Yeah,
this
yeah,
Twizzle
and that there is meticulousness here, but not to that exaggerated level, I would say.
for every
So,
other team, right?
yeah.
I imagine if they slow down some of the Finnish team's turns, they would have been like, oh, actually,
Oh,
that was super messy,
how
not
did
good
they
at
get a
all. That
level?
was too
I
shallow,
don't even.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Same with Kolesnik's Twizzles.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll have a lot more to say about this.
And the thing we're gonna mention, the thing about the pattern step in the midline is the camera angles make it super, super hard for
Yeah,
us to say that wasn't a clean turn, that wasn't a clean edge, that wasn't a clean edge from forward or backward or whatever they're looking for. What I will say is Mark Henretti, I don't know which team it was for. It was maybe Davis and Smolkin. I don't remember, but he literally called out in the middle of the element everything that was required from the element and what they were doing. Now, they did not get a level four. They weren't doing everything clean, but for us to be able to judge that, we would have to have one camera angle that was kind of on the skates the entire time. And the camera angles that they give us on broadcast is really difficult. So we
yeah.
can argue that to the end of time, but it's really kind of a lost cause.
But yeah, I'm going to echo what Tony said. Just thank you to Mark calling out those difficult turns in those step sequences. It can be really hard to see them. You can more or less gauge the intention just based on the curve they're in, the way they rotate and exit. But even
Yeah,
then,
but
sometimes I'm
how many
like,
people actually know a rocker from a counter and a Choctaw? Like people don't know what those things are.
I know,
And he is the
fair.
only commentator, at least ISU based, and even we're not it's Tara and Johnny. I'm sure Gabriella can do it, but I'm not about to watch NBC. I think most people don't want to venture down that road. So you have
Oh,
these ISU commentators that do not know the first thing about ice dance scoring. So I hope actually Mark even ramps it up a little bit more for the free dance and really goes into details about the content that's actually being performed
right.
and
Because it's
some
more
of
or
the
less
skill
like just the turns. It's just those difficult turns are really all that matters, or
Mhm.
steps, right?
Yep.
And then in the free dance, it's also the how many times you changed hold.
Yep.
So like, I, but anyway, I'm still in this level of disbelief. I don't know about you, but
Yep.
I felt like we had a lot to say and we didn't want to wait, and so we just wanted to say this now.
Yeah. I think there needs to be some kind of, they do this though. Sometimes when elements have these strange or maybe not so clear calls, they put out a communication
Yeah.
mid-season that says this is why this is happening to clarify, blah blah blah.
Or
But
stop
again,
doing that. Yeah.
I don't know why. It's like I really feel like for Guillaume and Laurence, whether I'm a fan or not, I feel like it's like a gotcha moment. Like we were waiting for you to do this, and now look what you get. And it's just I don't agree with it at all. I think, and something I don't think we mentioned is so this board to board requirement. You would assume for the element to start getting called that it needs to be at a board. Because otherwise, why would you even call it an element? You would just call it as a non anything, like it just a skipped block basically in your protocol. So the fact that they decided that was at the board supposedly is just and the GOE.
Insane.
And then you look at the GOE for Piper's base level call. I can understand that a little bit more because these were meticulous calls. But even being checked, getting +3, +4, it's kind of like, huh. That's another reason I don't know how much listeners know this, but the judges don't know the level that's being assigned to the element. Like it does not show up for them. So for all they know, they're getting a level 4. And for that reason, I could see where they're like, well, it was just a small check, like they had more positive features than negative. But we look at how other teams are scored when they literally do not move out of position in their Twizzles and they're still scored level +4 and +5. Lots of reworking, but we've said this since we've started this channel. We've both been on forums, online circles saying ice dance need an overhaul with the way that it's scored. You need to bring back some kind of head-to-head comparison rather than these choreographic sequences, especially the step, because it is just vibes. I don't care that we're saying that word again, but that is what it is. That is it. And I can go do
Yep.
this too, and I could go pick up my partner too. You're going to give me a +5? No, you're
I
probably
know,
going to give me
right?
a
Give us a week.
-1.
Tony and I can do that and get a +3,
Yeah,
right?
no, no, we're going to get a -1 because we're skaters
All right,
with
because we're nobodies. That's
exact.
right.
We're not even in group one. We're like in the parking lot practicing. But I don't. I think there's a lot to be said for it, and Grand Prix final. I would just hope that it's not Rettstatt again. As much as I like strict colors, this is a little bit.
This was, yeah, I definitely see what you mean about the gotcha thing because it's like you could have warned this team during the practice, chose not to because they all
I don't
watch.
think they're supposed to be honest with you, but what I saw at Skate America or what I was told I saw, and I mean, I saw like the proximity of how close the camp was to the technical panel. Like it was steps away, so I'm sure they got feedback there. So whether it's allowed or not,
Like,
uh,
we were all thinking like this event for the Ice Dance and Finlandia trophies was really dramatic, full of chaos. This was not the chaos I was expecting. It
no.
really was not. Yeah. I'm just like I'm still a little bit of disbelief. I don't even know. But okay. I think we've said all we can say.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you feel like you got to get out on that's on your mind right now?
No, I just want things to make sense, and I want it to go more back to ice dance and not.
Right.
Literally, there is no time for choreography in most of these programs, and when you go to the one choreographic element that they've included, it's like the entire PCS is based off of what they do there. It is just I don't know how no one else can really see this and fight this. Those two step sequences that are required take up so much of the time. They're gonna mostly do a rotational lift. I think we've seen like one straight line or one
Like a
not
few.
rotational lift this
Yeah.
year. Yeah. So it's all the same stuff, and then you go down to these vibes, and you're telling me that doing this in a hop, which isn't even the correct element, is gonna get scored at a potential +5 without the exclamation point. That is it. That is all I need to know about the way the sport is judged and how there's like this disconnect for the judges to do whatever they want with the choreographic elements to boost scores, and it just needs to be fixed. And Shawn Rettstatt, if you are making up for screwing up this sport by doing these changes, just clarify what it is that you want them to do and why everyone is getting hit so much. And that's all I can say because all these
Agreed.
teams are going to have to go through meticulously before they get to Grand Prix final, Europeans, and Olympics because this is it.
Yep. Ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it for now. This is a really short video. We just wanted to rant about
Yeah.
that, and we've been saying this stuff for a long time, but it's just kind of it's to the point now that, most fans don't know anything about ice dance judging, scoring, and it's okay because, it's very complicated. But when now the skaters are kind of uniformly saying like, "Hey, what's going on?" I think this is not the season for this to be happening. This is literally a few weeks before the Grand Prix final, and then you have really no time between nationals and then these big events in the Olympics. So this should have all been very much clarified at the beginning of the year, and that's all. That is all. So I
Yep.
don't know. I could rant forever, but there's really nothing else. And also, my voice is very deep because I was in extremely cold weather being from Miami. Lake Placid did kind of a job on my health for so now I have an extremely deep voice, and I don't want to talk that loud.
Oh
It just
no.
tickles. No, it just tickles my throat. So
Yeah, I know, I know.
so it's rough. But yeah, that's all I got. I don't know if you want to add any last
No,
stuff as
that's
well.
it. We'll save the rest for,
Yeah,
when the
for
event's
tomorrow
over.
when we see what
Yeah.
ends up happening.
And I
Yeah,
guess it's going to be a 2 hour plus one
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. It'll be 3 hours just on ice dance. But yeah. Anyways, for now, my
Okay.
name
And
is Tony Wheeler.
I'm Thomas Boo.
Thank you for watching.
All right, bye everyone.